Hello, Kelly Bear here. Welcome to my channel. I'm with you today for a monthly faves video, another monthly faves, things what have tickled my pickle in July. This is my second time trying to record this video, FYI, because there's an event going on just over the way there, and they keep playing very loud music, but there hasn't been any for half an hour. So I thought, well, maybe I'll try and film it again, but if it doesn't, I'm gonna have to stop again and try again tomorrow. I'm filming on Sunday. Currently it's Sunday the 30th of July, so yeah, there's like some full weekend thing going on. It's been very loud, very stressful. Anyway, so let's get into the fun stuff, which is the faves. I didn't really cause kind of check that the camera was all set up properly when I quickly sort of was like, oh, actually I'll try again. Sorry about this. There we go. I'll do. It's all a bit slapdash, isn't it? Oh well. So as per usual on my faves videos, I'm going to go through decks, books, then YouTube channels, podcasts, films and TV, Instagram accounts, music, misc, and then maybe some things that I might be doing next month. So yeah, let's just get straight into the decks. So I have continued to do daily draws. I haven't been really doing month ahead draws or week ahead draws. I've just been doing daily draws, anywhere between 1, 2 and 3 cards, depending how I feel. I haven't been journaling them. I've just been letting them, doing them, and then sort of letting them fly into the wind. That's not true, because I have been sharing some of them over on my Instagram and here on my channel's community feed. Oh, hello, boo boo. Hello, Dr. Nomi has joined us for a short while at least, I imagine. Oh, just can see her little curly whirly tail there. Oh, she's probably looking for one of her favourite toys. So sorry, distracted by the cuteness. I just realised. Oh God, what is going? Oh, there we go. Hello, boo boo. Hello. So cute. So yeah, I've just been going with it, and I have been, yeah, if you want to see some of my interpretations of my daily readings, you can either go over to the community feed and see them there, or you can go to my my tarot / personal Instagram account, and they'll be linked down below. But the first deck that I was using in the first week of July was the Queer Tarot, which is really fun and colourful. It makes the 90s teen in me incredibly happy. It is pretty much a straight up Smith Waite, but make it queer and very, very colourful. I mean, if this deck was available in the 90s when I got my first tarot deck, this would have been the deck that I would have picked, not the Osho Zen. It would have 100% been this. I just know. It would either been this or like a goth deck if I had stumbled across. I didn't have access or didn't see any goth decks when I was a teenager, unfortunately. So yeah, it was just it's just a fun spin on the Smith Waite. I've been really on a Smith Waite tip lately, haven't I? Don't know what that's about, but you know. And what I usually do when I do my readings is I do my own sort of interpretation from my own sort of experience and sort of my own sort of associations with the cards, and then I do like to grab the book that goes with the deck just to see what the creators are thinking about the card. I just always think it helps to sort of expand my own thoughts about a deck. What I really like about this book, it's got sort of your usual, like you'll have the title, you'll have some keywords and a little bit about the card and its meaning, but then you get like the reverse meanings like many other books, but you also get just sort of things to consider, which I really like. Almost like a journaling prompt or just something to mull over, something to consider. So for the 7 of Cups here, we have the keywords illusion, opportunities and choices, and in the things to consider section it says, is something holding you back from moving forward with a plan or an idea? Are your goals realistic and achievable? Weigh your options, start somewhere small, right? Really nice. And then I do like that you get the name of the model and their pronouns, because all of the people featured in this deck are real life folks. Like, how cool is that? Even like the dogs and cats, the names of the real dogs and cats featured are given in this. So it's just fun, it's colourful. I really love it. It's a bit chunky, like the cards themselves are actually quite large, like it really stretches out my hand, and then the cardstock is very, very thick, so I can't riffle shuffle this, especially not with my janky hand these days. But yeah, that was the first deck I used this month. The second deck that I grabbed this month surprised me because I've not used it for a long time actually. I used to use it all the time, and it's the 8 Coins Tattoo Tarot. Well, actually, did I show you the backs? Yeah, I did show you the backs of the... It's always nice to see the backs of a deck, isn't it, as well? And these are the backs of the 8 Coin Tattoo Tarot. This is the mass market edition, and it's trimmed. I trimmed it and edged it in various shades of black and various shades of grey, because it is a tattoo deck. So this was like the grayscale tattoo line work kind of thing I was doing with the edging. And I used to read with this deck all the time, but then I got massively into Marseille and Pip decks, and also I started to get more and more inclusive and diverse decks into my collection, and this one, although lovely, isn't particularly diverse. I don't think we see any disability or any real body diversity or skin tones for that, that much. It's very, yeah. So it's beautiful and it reads nicely. It's very sort of Smith weight, but make it tattoo. It does have some interesting, like this is the 4 of Wands, for example, and you have wands coming out of a vase of flowers. So not your like sort of classic. There's some of the cards are very classic, and then some of them are really not. But yeah, I just sort of pulled this one, and I was doing 1 card draws with this one. I do like the moon. It's interesting. It's like a sort of an old... illustration with the moon phases there. Quite like that. But yeah, I quite enjoyed using it, and it's a nice size. It's a bit smaller, easier for me to shuffle this one. And it's funny, I got the book here because I pulled the book out, which I had colour coded years ago when I first got this deck to help me pick stuff out, and I really rated this book at the time. You can see I like highlighted bits of it. And it is still good, but I feel like my sort of understanding of the cards has sort of moved on quite a bit and sort of evolved, as it always will, right? As the longer you read and the more sort of decks you look at and the more books about tarot or tarot guidebooks that you read, the more opinions and ideas and thoughts around tarot will grow and evolve and change. So it's very sort of classic Smith weighty, and I do feel like it packs a punch. I still think it's quite good sort of for beginners, but it used to be one of my favourite guidebooks that came with a tarot deck, and I have others that have kind of surpassed this, so it's got bumped down the list, and it's still good. But yeah, so the deck that I used in the 3rd week of this month was the Next World Tarot, the Pocket Edition, purely because I'm lazy, because I have the large indie version. But I have the Temperance card, which is my card for the year. I'm having a Temperance year. I have that on my altar. I have that out all the time, and if I was to read with it, I'd have to always take out the Temperance card, shuffle the deck, and then do my reading, and then find the Temperance card, put it back on the thing, and do that every time that I was using it that week or month or whatever. And I was like, no, I have the mini version. I'll just do it with the mini version. I do love the little chunky book. I have the like larger size, but there's just something really satisfying about this chunky, tactile. Yeah. But I love this. I love this deck. It's colourful, it's queer, it's joyful, it's diverse and inclusive. I really see, this was one of the first decks I really saw myself in, and saw like my community and my friends in, even though it's sort of like a post-apocalyptic world. It's the next world. I just really see people that I know in it. This is the Lovers card just gets me just in my feels. Like this person, it's themselves coming out of the mirror and handing them spoons. You know, they've got a walking aid. Like I've seen myself in this as someone who lives with chronic illness and chronic pain and chronic fatigue, and has on occasion had to use a walking aid. Like, oh, it's just really, I just love it. I just love it. It's hopeful, you know, and as we seem to slide deeper and deeper into the climate crisis, hope is one of the things we're going to need in abundance. I love this Two of Cups. This is one of my favourite Two of Cups cards ever. Come on, camera. Oh, love it. Love, love, love. Not everyone's cup of tea, I understand, but for me, it's yeah. The book is really radical as well, and I know like some people don't like the book or the deck for being radical and sort of really pushing those boundaries, but I think it's important to have decks like this and to have that perspective, especially when it comes to something that is so sort of cishet and patriarchal and sort of founded in sort of power structures, you know, that the tarot as it is, as much as society is as well. It's good to sort of break those down and look at them from a different point of view, right? So I think it's really, really valid and important. So the next deck that I used was the Sasuraibito Tarot, an oldie and a goodie. Me and this deck, the times I've had to hide this away because I just pull it all the time, because I said this in the last time I was talking about this deck. I use this deck like you wouldn't believe, and I have over the years. And yeah, the edges, you can see, I don't know if you can tell, the edges are kind of a little worn, but I mean, considering how much I have riffle shuffled this over the years, or dropped it, or like, how has this held up? Look how shiny it is. What magic is this? This is one of my favourite King of Cups cards ever. Look, I love this deck because, you know, you get to see a lot more sort of Southeast Asian folks in this, which makes sense given Stasia Burrington, her heritage. We get to see a really sexy devil. I see this as Lucifer from the show Lucifer. It's just so, I mean, look at this Ten of Pentacles. The dog, that could be Dr. Nomi. The Ten of Cups, it doesn't have a rainbow or the idea of a family. Again, one of my favourite Ten of Cups. I don't know if you can see, but can you see there's people around a campfire, and you can see their feet, you can see their legs rather. The fire has sort of lit their legs, not lit their legs on fire, but lights up, so you can see that there's people sitting around the campfire having a great time, maybe in their cups, telling stories and living the good life. It's just beautiful, and this deck is a real like hug. Oh, the queens, all of the queens in this deck are chef's kiss, absolute. I mean, just really, like, it's based in Smithwaite, but it has such interesting and heartfelt interpretations. I can't really, I mean, this Eight of fucking Cups, I've been here so many times. I'm here at the moment and my hair is driving me crazy, and I just like, I nearly cut it all off earlier this week. It was driving me up the fucking wall. And I know people are like, don't cut your hair, it's so beautiful, but I get really, like, it's a whole thing going back to my childhood where people were obsessed with my family and friends, and just strangers were obsessed with my hair. My hair was very long and even curlier and redder than it is now, and people telling me that I wasn't allowed to cut I should never cut my hair, or I shouldn't do this, or I shouldn't do that, and it's my, like, as though like I am my hair, and it really pissed me off. Like, I'm more than just my hair. And I know that when I do eventually cut my hair again, my family, my friends, people are just gonna, strangers are like gonna comment on it. And it's like, just, it's, you don't have to live with long curly hair. It's a lot of work, and that's why it looks as straggly as it does, because I don't have the time, money or patience to look after it the way that it needs to. And 9 times out of 10 it has to just go up out of the way, because it's so long, and especially in the summer, it just gets in the way. So I'm just always, that's why it's always up out of the way. At least when it was like a bob or a pixie crop, I could just sort of play around with it a bit more. Anyway, that's the rant about me taking control over my own hair, and people who have opinions about that need to, here's my point. Okay, so anyway, so those were the 4 tarot decks that I used, and then later in this week I was using this deck. I started using it with the Anatomy of a Witch Oracle. This was a deck that Simon at the Hermit's Cave gifted me for my birthday. Was it my birthday or Christmas? Was it Simon who gifted? Yeah, I think he gifted it to me for my birthday. I lose track because he's so sweet and gets me such lovely presents. I lose track of which one he got me and when. But I was pulling 1 card from this deck and 1 card from this deck. Oh, they are like the reverses of each other. So you have the blue, oh sorry, you have the blue with the orange around the outside, and then you have the blue with the orange in the inside. Love card, like I love cartomancy so much. I mean, like, what the hell, what? And these were jiving so nicely together. I really loved it. And I was like, I'm gonna do like another, I'm gonna pull a 3rd deck, and instead of pulling like another tarot, I pulled another oracle deck, and I pulled out Stasia Burrington's other oracle deck. She's got a couple of other decks at the moment. She uses she, they use she, they pronouns. But yeah, so it's the Empty Cup Oracle. This is a gift which I very much cherish. I've had this deck almost 4 years now, and it has had, again, this has matte gold, and this deck has gotten, this is one of my most used oracle decks, and because this last year I've definitely gotten more into oracle decks. Maybe in the last 6 to 8 months I've gotten more into oracle than I ever have, and even then it's still not as much as some other folks. Oh, it shuffles so beautifully. It's like a matte rose petal, but because the deck isn't too many cards, because it's an oracle, it doesn't get too stuck on itself. But yeah, this is really simple, beautiful. Oh, I just love it. So I was combining this deck, so I was gonna, and I used like a spread, and again I was sharing these over on my Instagram and on my community feed. So this is one of the cards that I pulled this week, which was Touch, and another one that I pulled this week, that's weird, I've shuffled this deck loads in between those readings. Witch Heart was one that I pulled. What have we got? We've got Play with Baba Yaga's hut, playing with what appears to be a wolf and a hare. That's probably tied to some Slavic folk tale. Oh, and a snake there with Baba Yaga, I imagine. Let's see some of the other ones. Commune is a cauldron, and you can see people around it. Can you see like misty, swirly people? Smell. I would have probably called this one Scent, but maybe it's the smell as in the sense of smell. Oh yeah, because you have taste, you get all of the different senses. I think there's Hear as well. So yeah, we have Poppet. This is funny actually, because I've been rereading to give me some inspiration. Hang on, let me just grab it. Where is it? Where are you? There we go. I've been rereading, so I'm not that far in on my reread. Mama Silver Ravenwolf's Poppet Magic, and just because I'm thinking about some Poppet stuff, and I wanted to like re-inspire myself rather than doing my classic idea of what I do as a Poppet. I thought I would sort of, because Silver Ravenwolf goes over things like grunging and other sort of stuff in there that I've never actually done, although I find it really interesting. I was like, maybe I'll try that. I don't know, we'll see. But I enjoy this book, so that's a bonus little book rec if you're interested in Poppet Magic. It's quite a heavy one as well. I think I've had this a couple of years. So yeah, so that, sorry, I went on a little side quest because of the Poppet, the Poppet card, and it reminded me that there was a book that I have been reading that I hadn't pulled out, but there we go. Hands. So yeah, these these three decks worked really nicely together. Let's just pull a card that I haven't shown you yet, because I keep seeming to pull ones that I've just shown you. You know, like, they just seem to work. The colours of these two work, and then because this is just sort of black, white and grey, you know, it works, right? And I'll give you an example of like just how beautifully they've been playing together. So you saw with that first one with the orange and the blue and the blue and the orange, right, which was just uncanny. A reading that I did yesterday for myself. So what I do is I pull the Sasuraibito, and that card is something to be mindful of, or something that I need to know for the day. And then the Anatomy of a Witch card that I pull is an attitude or energy to embody or to cultivate for the day that's going to help me sort of navigate the day. And then the Empty Cup Oracle card is a message of encouragement and or support. So the card pulls that I got yesterday just really made me smile. So I got the Five of Cups, right? And Five of Cups can be about grief. It can be about not seeing, you know, seeing, okay, you have 3 empty cups, but you also have 2 full cups, like not really seeing what you already do have. You're just focusing on what you're lost. It can be around healing and trauma and grief and all those kinds of things. So that was the first card that I pulled, which is what I needed to be aware of for the day. And I found myself getting quite anxious, quite angsty, quite irritable. I'm even right now, I have like PMS cramps. I'm quite irritable today. The hormones, right? And I was trying to get stuff done, but also my hand was very sore because I've done so much more sewing than hand sewing this week than I think I've done in years, because I've just been on one. And I was getting frustrated that I couldn't do all the things that I needed to do, and my hand was hurting, and I couldn't do vacuum because my hand was too sore to hold the vacuum and things like that. And so the next card that I pulled out, which was an energy or an attitude to cultivate, was heal. And I was like, okay, I need to like listen to my body, I need to rest a bit. So by like mid-afternoon I like calmed my tits, I had a post-lunch nap, I just sort of really wound it down, rested my hand, you know, and yeah, listened to my body. And then the card of encouragement or support was snake. Well, here we have the rod of Asclepius with the snake on it. This means healing. Sometimes the caduceus gets appropriately used by medical people when it's not. It's meant to be the rod of Asclepius is what means healing, from what I remember. And snake, we have a danger noodle, we have a little noodle boy. I love snakes. I used to have a pet snake called Reuben. He was a lavender corn. He was beautiful, and the little face that could just be his little face, oh my god. And it's about sort of shedding skin and feeling renewed. And so I felt like, you know, be careful not to fall into this, even though you're kind of feeling it. Don't give in to it. Rest, heal, listen to your body, rest your hand, get a hot water bottle on your tummy, and you'll be feeling a lot better afterwards. And I had a shower. I washed my hair for the first time in like 9 days, because I had been just like sewing and having long days of sewing to the point that other things went by the wayside, like, you know, washing my hair or like eating properly and things like that. See, what I did this week was not sustainable for both like my health and just long term, just anything. But I did it. But like, can you like, do you see what I mean? Like how uncanny. I mean, that's just sometimes cartomancy anyway. What am I doing? It's all over the shop. But yeah, anyway, so you can see my sort of write-up of this over on the community feed. Yeah, so I just wanted to show that. So I really enjoyed that little reading thing, you know, something I need to know today, an energy on attitude to cultivate, and a message of encouragement, support. And they're things that I use quite a lot for like daily, because I feel like just pulling a card for the day isn't enough. I need some context. And of course you could do that with one deck. You could do them all with tarot, you could do them all with oracle, or mix it up however you like. Obviously, you do you. Have fun with it. Have fun. So those are the decks that I use. Wow, 24 minutes and it's just been decks. Let's go into books. Oh, tell a lie, also I did do some bibliomancy this week as well. I was pulling some quotes. I pulled some poetry from Dickinson. I only shared one of these and one of these, but there were some quotes that I pulled, and yeah, there'll be a couple of spreads where I've shared them and I've got the quotes for there. And then there was like a quote from both the Empty Cup Oracle book and the Sasuraibito Tarot book, I think, where what was written in the book felt like the bibliomantic message, so there'll be some of those as well. But yeah, I'm enjoying, these are two fun books for me to use for bibliomancy. Delpoo's so cute. And you know, Dickinson, enough said, right? So these are all the... Oh, and the reason I have the Fifth Spirit book is because I read the Fifth Spirit entry every time I pull a card when I read the guidebook for the deck. That's also, like, once I've done my reading, because I just really love Charlie Claire Burgess. I love their interpretations. I'm so excited for their book Radical Tarot that is coming out in September. I was going to say next month, because like it is almost August. Okay, so things that I am reading but haven't finished. So I started reading Guided Tarot by Stephanie Caponi. I'm on that one at the moment. And then Finding the Fool by Meg Jones Wall. And I am really enjoying this. I bought this after watching Laura Aquamarine 18's in-depth review of this book, so I'm really enjoying this. This one is up and down for me, but what I do is I'm reading this. What I'll do is I'll read an entry for the card in this book, and then I read the entry for the same card in this book. And so I've only read the Major Arcana and the 1 to 10 of the cups in both of these. So this will be something that I'll continue to do. What I do is I would read 1 to 3 entries depending on my concentration level in the morning, and then I would move on to my fiction. I finally finished Awakening from the Daydream by David Nichtern. This book I bought and then I started reading it, I think it was last September or October, and then I put it somewhere. Could I find it? No idea where it went. And then I found it under a load of boxes in the hallway like a couple of weeks ago or whenever it was. I posted about it, I think, on Instagram, I think. And I was like, oh, what? Like, why is it? What's it doing there? But anyway, so I was 2/3 of the way through the book. It's not a very long book anyway. But because it had been like, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 months since I had read the first 2/3 of the book, I did just pick it up where I left off, but it was less impactful because it wasn't fresh in my mind. But I just, I started, so I wanted to finish it. It's about reimagining the Buddha's Wheel of Life, just to learn a little bit more about, about that. There's some ideas in Buddhism that I like, there are some ideas in Buddhism that I don't like, but it's always good to learn more about different beliefs and systems, right? The more you know, huh? You don't have to take on board everything that you read about or learn about. It just gives you a better understanding of the world and the people in it, and allows you to sort of expand your mind and see other people's point of view, right? My favourite book this month, though, The Girl with All the Gifts. I've had this for a while. I can't remember if I bought this for myself or if someone bought this for me. And I don't know why it's been sitting on my shelf for so long, because I tore through this like a hungry tears through humans. And if you've read this book, you'll know what that means. I obsessed. I didn't want to put it down. There were times where I was like, I really needed to start work in the morning, and I was just like, but just one more chapter. So good, so different to what I've read in this genre before, and really got me in the feels. Has anyone else read this? Did you love it like I loved it? Has anyone else read any of M.R. Carey's other works? Because I know that he's done stuff for like film and TV, and he's done comic books, but I've not read his... Well, when this came out, this is 2014, he only had one other book, which is Fellside. Has anyone read Fellside? I imagine he's got other books by now. Anyway, loved this so much. So much. And I ordered myself. My mum gave me a little bit of gift money just because whenever it's my sister's birthday last month, my mum also gave me money. Not as much as she gave my sister, but she gave me a little bit of money because she feels bad giving the other gifts in front of the other, and then when it's like my birthday, my sister gets a bit of money as well. It's very sweet. So one of the things I've bought with it is Cunning Words, a grimoire of tales of magic. This is by Marshall, the Witch of Southern Light, who is one half of the Southern Bramble podcast, which I love, and that is Marshall, Witch of Southern Light, and Austin Fuller of Baynex Bramble. Go check out that podcast, just always, because it's interesting, it's informative, it's fun, and Austin and Marshall have just really good chemistry. They're just really fun. But Marshall had shared some of the like experts and readings from this, and it was so lovely. And I've had this on my wish list for maybe 2 or 3 months when I first heard about it, Marshall talking about it, and but I hadn't pulled the trigger. And then Marshall shared an Amazon review that someone had put of this book. He shared it on his Twitter account, and it was such a lovely review. I was like, do you know what, sod it, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to order it, because it's on my wish list with probably about 300, 400, 500 other books, you know. But yeah, it bumped it up, and it's full of Marshall's like little illustrations. This is the black and white version. There wasn't the option for a hardback, but the hardback is £50 here in the UK, and I couldn't really spring to that. But I'm loving it so far. I was reading a little bit again this morning. I will report back on this next month, hopefully. But so far, so there's that. Okay, YouTube channels. Not so much. Again, I haven't been watching a huge amount of YouTube. What I have been watching, I've been watching reaction videos. I've been watching them like on my lunch break, and the channel is called Real Time, but real as in a film reel, REEL. And it's just 3 young, like I think 20-something guys reacting to TV shows, and I've been watching their Anne with an E reaction videos in real time as they put them out, as in real time as they come out. I just don't know. And it's just really nice to see 3 young men watching a show which is predominantly thought to be like a girls' show, and be really touched and moved by it, and not be afraid to really like show their emotions when they're upset, or to be really become attached to these like I just think it's really nice and affirming and reassuring to see 3 young men not being toxic douche canoes. So I've been really enjoying their little videos there. I've started their like Derry Girls ones as well, because I love Derry Girls. Derry Girls is hilarious. A video that I want to recommend is Laura over at Aquamarine 18 Tarot and Books. They've got a really good video about tarot and queerness, or how do we go about queering the tarot, why would we queer the tarot. It's long, but it's really informative, it's really interesting, and I think it's a really important discussion. It was a video that went up towards the end of Pride Month, so last month, but I wanted to give that video the time and the attention that it deserved, because I wanted to get the most out of it. So it took a good 2-3 weeks for me to be in the headspace to be able to like, and to have the time to just sit on my own, watch it, focus, and just really absorb everything that Laura was saying. So I will link that down below. It's a really good video, and just the channel in general, Aquamarine 18 Tarot and Books, is really good. And I obviously mentioned Laura earlier because of the Finding the Fool book review, which was really good as well. And little shout out to Sylvia at the Tarot Magpie, who is just really fun, fellow Brit. She has fabulous nails, and just really enjoyed listening to Sylvia talking about decks that she's been using. I hope I'm using the correct pronouns, actually. I'm making an assumption there, but they've been using. And please do, if you do see this, Sylvia, do correct me if I'm wrong, and my apologies if I am. But yeah, go check out tarot magpie, because just fun, just good natter. Nice to get a cup of tea and have a good natter. So films and TV. So I started the month off watching the Danish drama Chestnut Man. It is a show, it's Nordic noir, which I am all about, and so it follows a detective, a woman who is a detective in sort of the homicide department, and yeah, it does feed like content warning, trigger warning for murder, obviously, and child abuse, but it handles that very, it doesn't show any of that, or really sort of go into, it's very tactful in the way that things are dealt on that front, but it is very gruesome and gory when it comes to like the adult murders. And I just, you know, it wasn't the best Nordic noir that I've seen, but I did enjoy it, and it was kind of spooky. So there's that. So there's the Chestnut Man, and it just made a change, because I do watch a lot of Icelandic and Norwegian Nordic noir, and it was nice to watch something Danish for a change. Okay, then the other show I have been watching but haven't finished, I'm only 3 or 4 episodes in, but it's so funny, is Deadlocked on Prime. It's an Australian / sort of Kiwi show. It's set in Tasmania. It's a send up of the Nordic noir. So it's basically Aussies do Nordic noir, and it has all of the like that grey blue scale tone to the imagery, to the shots. The shots are very, it's filmed, the music, it's all very Nordic noir, but it has this dark gallows humour, and then there's just Aussie chaos. And it's really funny. It's really, and as someone who is so familiar with the Nordic noir genre and the tropes, it's really fun to see how they've sent those up, and like it's almost a burlesque of a Nordic noir, because it's the original meaning of burlesque comes from the Italian burla, to send up, to satirize. So it's almost a satirical show, but also like a drama, and a comedy drama, and it is like I said, I'm only a few episodes in, but I'm really enjoying that. A film that I really enjoyed, they cloned Tyrone. Oh my goodness. The soundtrack, the whole look, the aesthetic of the film, really fun. It's got John Boyega in it, and I love John Boyega, and Jamie Foxx, and oh god, what's her name? She is Monica Rambeau in the new Marvels. Oh my god, my mind just completely blanks on her name. But yeah, really good, strong 3 lead film. It's kind of sci-fi, but it's very like, it harks back to sort of blaxploitation film, that like the aesthetic of it and that, but it's bringing a 21st century social commentary. Like, it's, just go watch it, it's a good time. Other films that I watched, which were a little bit more hit and miss for me. Me and my spouse, against our better judgment, decided to watch The Blade Trinity. It was so funny because I had forgotten a little tidbit of information. So the first one I've seen multiple times, but I hadn't seen for about, I don't know, 18 years. The second one I'd only seen bits of, but never sat down to watch properly. I'd only ever seen when it was like on the TV, or someone was watching it at a party or whatever. I hadn't really seen it, I'd only seen bits of it. So I finally sat down to watch it, and I had forgotten this, so it got to the end, I was like, that was a lot better than the first one. Not the best film in the world, but definitely better than the first one. It had a certain vibe to it, and like the vampires were a bit like the vampires in The Strain, which is another comic / TV show. And then it got to the end, it said directed by Guillermo del Toro, who is like bae for me. And I was like, of course, I had totally forgot that was probably, I think that was the only, I think now, that's the only Guillermo del Toro film that I hadn't seen. There might be one more. But if that's the case, I may be all up to date with every Guillermo del Toro film that he's ever made. I was like, of course, I'd totally forgotten. And that makes sense, because then he expanded on that idea of the vampires with the little, like, tongue protuberance thing that you see in the Strain comics and the show. that's where that comes. That's why it's similar. And I think there's a bit of a crossover there. So yeah, I mean, that was, you know. And then the third one was just all style and no substance, but it kept blowing my mind because you get obviously Denzel Washington. I just love Denzel Washington. It's just fun anyway. And then Jessica Biel turns up, and then who else? And then Ryan Reynolds rocks up, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what? I didn't know he was in it. And then like Patton Oswalt and what's her name? Oh my god, my brain. Why can't I? Orange is the New Black, Russian doll, have a massive crush on her. Thingy Leone. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to. My brain, I cannot recall. I'm so sorry. My Natasha Lyonne, I think. My brain fog is so bad sometimes, and it's been a really long week, so I've just been Natasha Lyonne. I sometimes struggle to recall information quickly, even though I know it's there. So so that was good stuff. Podcasts. I missed off the podcast. So like I said, Southern Bramble. If you want one of my favourites of their episodes that I listened to so far this past month, their one on sigils, which was one of their recent ones, was really good. And I actually really enjoyed their interview with Olivia Graves of the Witch of Wanderlust, because I felt they I've watched a few of their videos on YouTube, but I've never subscribed to them or anything. But I found that we had so much in common, like in our viewpoint of things as well. And Olivia talks a lot about working with death and the idea of death and the spirit of death, and I found that really interesting. I finally got into Pennyroyal. I'm about 5 or 6 episodes into that. Boy, is that a rabbit hole. That was off the recommendation of the Faves podcast. The latest episode of the Faves podcast, I got a shout out. Me and my channel got a shout out after I'd had some interactions with them on Twitter, which was really sweet. So if you see this, the Faves boys, Peter or Stephen, thank you. That was really sweet of you. And then their latest episode, they interview Sequoia Kennedy, who is one half of the Nonsense Bazaar podcast, which is another podcast that I listen to on the recommendation of Vase. I love me a podcast, right? And that was a really fun interview because I think Sequoia is a really fun and interesting person. And then the most recent thing that I've listened to, and I finished it this very morning, is the Seeking Witchcraft episode on oils. I quite like Seeking Witchcraft podcast. I haven't listened to a huge number of the episodes, but there was a Candle Magic Basics one that I listened to earlier this month or last month, I can't remember, which I thought, like, there's just really good solid information for both beginner witches that are just wanting to learn about witchcraft, but also practitioners who maybe want to try a type of magic that they've not tried before. So maybe you've worked predominantly with sigils and you've never tried candle magic. There's a really good video there, a podcast for you to listen to. Or you want to try making your own oils, because usually you buy your own ritual oils. And there's this episode that I've just listened to today where this woman Catherine is talking about her business as making oils, but how to make your own and stuff like that. Lots of really good information. Instagram, I have 2. One is Lucille Manor. It is a doggy account. I stopped following Lucille Manor 2 years ago because Lucille, who the account is named after, finally crossed over the Rainbow Bridge. She was very old. She was an adorable, I believe she was a Chihuahua or Chihuahua cross dog. She was very, very cute, but she passed away. And I follow a lot of dogs, and when they die, it's very difficult to continue following that account because, and the woman eventually got, although I don't know, I'm saying woman, the person that had Lucille's parent ended up rescuing another dog. But I just needed to step away because I was too upset. I got in, when you get suggested reels, a video come up, and it was like a David Attenborough nature documentary of these 2 dogs in a vegetable patch. It's so funny. There's a whole series of them. I've seen another one's gone up today or last night, which I need to watch. And it was so funny. When I looked, it said Lucille Manor, and I was like, oh, it's the same account. So I'm re-following it again now, and there's two of them, and it's just so funny, just for these like David Attenborough documentaries, I'm going to call them. And then another one is an account I've been following maybe since the beginning of the year, and it's Dandy and Friends. Dandy is as we'll point out in almost every single reel that they do, a homosexual, and they are very fabulous, very camp. They are a dandy in the very 18th century Versailles type style. As you will see, there is the powdered sort of bouffant wig, we've got curls, we've got fabulous sort of early 18th century inspired like powdered white face and lips. It's just so much fun watching them with all the like costuming and the makeup and everything. And they have to remind you in every single reel, or almost every single reel, that, you know, hello, like they're basically assuming that their audience is gay or queer, and it's just like always like, hello, lovely gay, lovely to see you. You know, me being bisexual, pansexual, appreciate that very much. I'm like, hello. The Pride videos from last month are so much fun, and I realised I was meant to add Dandy and Friends for last month's Rex, and I just somehow like it left my brain. So I'm recommending it for this, but it's always a good time with Dandy and Friends. Music. I've been listening to a lot of relaxing classical. I have a playlist that I follow that I like heart on Spotify, and it's literally called Relaxing Classical, and it's a lot of piano stuff. I find I can't really do a lot of strings. It sort of gets on my tits. Unless it's cello, because cello has a lower register, but I do like a lot of piano based classical music. I find it quite soothing. You know, Rachmaninoff is obviously a bit more intense. A lot of the Russians are a bit more intense, but I mean, I'm talking about your Debussy, your Chopin. My favourite being Satie. Eric Satie is my favourite, one of my favourite composers. So it's been really nice listening to some classical. I've been listening to one of my own playlists, which is called Witch Vibes, or The Vibes, which is how I've spelt it, like the film, which is all just like dark and spooky, sexy, witchy stuff, which makes me feel like a sexy, spooky bitch. And then I finally listened to, in full, at very high volume, Måneskin's latest album, Rush, which did come out a few months ago, and I'd only listened to the odd song here or there, but I did watch their Glastonbury set a couple of weeks ago, which I did think was a bit wonky, and Damiano did keep like forgetting the lyrics to stuff and fucking up. I think he was nervous, like, you know, Glastonbury, that's a big one, right? Especially when you're so young, and so still relatively quite new. I mean, they sort of blasted into everyone's consciousness after they won Eurovision 2021. And they've just sort of, their star has continued to rise. So it's only been a couple of years, and they're like doing a Glasto set. But yeah, the album is fun, and I was worried there wouldn't be any Italian songs on there, because I think they really shine with their Italian songs. But there are at least 3 in Italian on the album, so I was really pleased to see that. My favourite one that keeps getting stuck in my head is Blah Blah Blah, because it's just so funny. Of course, The Loneliest is very sweet, and was, I think, one of the first songs they released from the album as a single. And Gossip was another one, which has a very saucy video with Morello from Rage Against the Machine playing guitars on that, which is fun. So anyway, and then finally, Misk. This is getting really long, as always. So I have been laying on my acupressure mat in the evenings and meditating, as I like to do, but I have finally found a meditation teacher on Insight Timer, because I gave up my Headspace subscription, because it was expensive and I wasn't really using it, and it was very samey. So I found a teacher called Darius Bashar. He is Canadian, and his meditations are geared mostly to creatives and artists. But he has a beautiful, rich, deep, resonant voice, which I find very relaxing. He has a very calm, slow way of speaking without it being so slow that you're like, get on with it. And a nice balance of it not being too woo, but not being too psycho-spiritual. Just really like out of the 5 meditations I did in the last week, 4 of them like really had me like crying in like release throughout in parts of the meditation, like in a really good like cathartic way, not in like a sobbing or boohoomy way, like in a really lovely way. So again, these will all be linked down below. I really enjoyed that. I've kind of been obsessed. I went to my local supermarket the other day because I'd run out of snack bars, and I picked up these like Nans Biscuits. Nans do oat cakes, which are like a thing over here in the UK from the north of England. And I picked up, there's these ones, these like chocolate biscuit break things, and they're like accidentally vegan. So I bought a pack. Oh my god, love them. So now I'm obsessed with chocolate chip Nans like biscuit breaks. So I have them with my 11s with a cup of tea. That's been me all this week. I really enjoyed playing the Yokai Hunters Club tabletop RPG system with my regular gaming group. We did a 2-day 2 sessions over the first weekend of July, and that was really fun. It's based in 1995 or 1996 in a small suburb of Japan, and you get to play a young kid. I was playing a 13 or 14-year-old. It was really fun and spooky, and it's all based around it's written by Japanese creators, and it's yeah, it's all around Japanese folklore and the yokai and stuff like that. It's really fun. So I will shout out to that. It's a small publishers, gaming creators game. And then I'm really proud of myself because I cut out 37 pouches, and last week, well this week, I sewed up 28 of them. I'm still in shock. There is a picture. I'll see if I can remember to insert the picture here, maybe. Or maybe I'll just take up the whole screen. I don't know. Of 30 well, I completed, and I'd already sewn up another 3 the week before, so I had completed 30 or 31 pouches. I attached all their charms and their ribbons on Friday. Oh my god, 5.5 hours of like sewing on charms and attaching ribbons and the little hearts. I had to wear my hardcore respirator because of all the like hot glue fumes for the hearts. Oh my god. With the window wide open. Woo! And so yeah, I'm really proud of myself, and like I said, it's not something I can always do. My hand has been very sore. I'm just trying to get, basically Etsy says your shop will get put in front of more people if it has 30 or more items in it. Well, I've never had more than 30 items in it because the biggest shop drop I've ever done is about 26 items, but my average is anywhere between like 16 to 20. And then if I make a bunch of sales, say if I sold even a third of that, that's going to knock that right off, right? So right down. So I never have enough items in my shop to be able to get it put in front of more people that don't know of me from Instagram or here on YouTube as a tarot tuber or witch tuber or whatever. So I'm like, fine, I am going to have to make as many as I possibly can and like get them all up there. So then see, because Etsy keeps saying you need to have more items in your shop. It's like, bitch, I fucking hand sew everything. I live with chronic illness and I have a janky hand, and you're like, you need to put more. You fucking try hand sewing, hand cutting, hand sewing, hand embroidering, appliquing and embroidering like items. Just like, I don't know. But I am hoping to also have, I've got 6 of my new pouch cloth spread things cut out, but I needed to wait for some more fusible interfacing to turn up, so that came at the end of last week, so I can get on with those. I'm also going to cut out some smaller sized ones for smaller decks, and I'm going to make a standard plus size for larger decks, so I'll hopefully have about anywhere between 6 and 12 of my new design as well. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a shop drop with everything, but I will try to do a bigger shop drop than I've ever done before, and that will be anywhere between the next 2 to 3 weeks, but I will keep you all updated on that. What else? So for next month, I want to finish Cunning Words. I want to finish those tarot books that I showed you earlier. I started watching Good Omens. We're 3 episodes in, me and my husband, so I will plan to finish that, and from what I've seen people saying on Twitter, I don't want to get spoiled for it, but people saying they're like upset and traumatized, so I'm a bit like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I hope Crowley and Aziraphale are going to be okay and end up together forever and be happy ever after. But we will see. So yeah, that's, and what else next month? Yeah, try and do the biggest shop drop I've ever done to appease the algorithm gods, and no doubt jankify my hand and wreck my health in the same time, but capitalism, am I right? So anyway, that was a whole thing that I've just done there. At least it was quiet. I finally got it filmed, so hopefully I can get this up today, later today. It's lunchtime. Perfect timing. I'm going to go have me a nice big salad and give my doggy some tummy rubs. Lummy, you want some tummy rubbles? Yeah? Anyway, so yeah, if you have watched this, oh my goodness, well done. This was another long one. What were your faves for July? Which decks did you work with? Which books did you read? Have you read The Girl with All the Gifts? And if so, what did you think of it? Have you read any other works by that author? What do you think of my little combo here? Do you like it? I'm really enjoying this particular combo. And yeah, what were you watching this month or listening to podcast wise? Always hit me up with podcast recs, because I love me my podcasts. I need to wet my whistle. I don't have any water with me, and it's quite warm in here, and I'm feeling about, so I need to go get the windows open, get some water in me, get some lunch in me. You don't need to know this is boring information. I just always drag out my endings and it's so boring. So I'm just going to say I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching. I really, you know, a thumbs up, a comment, a subscribe, it all just helps. I'll go follow my Etsy shop, or my Instagram accounts. They'll all be linked below. All the things that I have mentioned today in this video will be linked below. And yeah, I hope that you are safe and happy and healthy wherever you are, and I shall see you in my next video. Ciao.